Hello, and welcome to Oceanside De-Mystified. I'm your host, Councilmember Rick Robinson. Today we've got a special episode lined up for you. I'm joined by two individuals who play a crucial role in ensuring our safety every day. Police Chief Kedrick Sadler and Fire Chief David Parsons. Today's spotlight is on public safety, and over the next two episodes of this show, we will explore how our city strives to meet its first responsibility of keeping our residents, businesses, and visitors safe. We will get started in just a couple of minutes when we return with our guests.
The Oceanside Fire Department is looking for ways to give back to the military. So if you're looking for an exciting career, come join the Oceanside Fire Department through SkillBridge.
My name is Jack Monroe. I was in the United States Marine Corps.
My name is Anthony Vallejos. I was in the United States Marine Corps. If you're wanting to be a part of a paramilitary culture, the fire department is where you want to go. It was a great transition for me.
When I was transitioning out of the Marine Corps, I got lucky getting hired here because they care. It's a full circle of care too, not just the physicality, but the mental health and then the family wellness as well.
The firemen are hard chargers, just like Marines. They understand that there's a mission that needs to be accomplished. And then when it's time to sit down at the dinner table, that's where camaraderie and friendship and togetherness all comes together.
At Oceanside Fire Department, when you're in the classroom, you're learning from the best. The guys have been through everything you're going through and they know the ropes and they're not afraid to help you get better and show you how to do it.
We work on simulations, we get to work hands-on with tools and gurneys and all these things in order to be the best at what you're doing.
At Oceanside, if you put in the work, you're not just a number here. Once you get your foot in the door, if you work hard, they will give you every opportunity to succeed. This is the best job I've ever had.
To be considered in your application, you need to have a National Registry EMT certification. Applications can be found on the city's website or through your SkillBridge application process.
Apply today.
Welcome back, everybody. And as promised, we're here with our police chief, Kedrick Sadler, and our fire chief, David Parsons. Having him in the same room is quite a treat for me, actually. So welcome, guys. Appreciate you being here.
Thank you for having us.
So one of the things I always like to do, this is O'side Demystified, and one of the things I always like to do is let the public know who their officials are. So if you don't mind, and Chief Sadler, if I'll start with you, why don't you give us a little bit of background? How'd you get to this position here in Oceanside?
Well, I'm a lifelong native of Southern California. I actually grew up in the Long Beach area. I came out here in 1996 when I joined the Marine Corps and spent 4 honorable years in the Marine Corps, served right at Camp Pendleton. And when I got out of the Marine Corps in 2000, I joined the Oceanside Police Department. And I've been with the police department since 2001, and now I'm the chief of police.
How do you like it so far?
Oh, I love it. It's been a great department, great community. This is a lot. It reminds me a lot of where I grew up in Long Beach, beach town, but I just love it. I love the department, love the city.
Well, we'll get into a little more detail about the department here in a second, but Chief Parsons, Dave, how are you today?
Good, Rick.
Good.
Thank you. Thanks for having me.
And you and I know each other a little bit, but why don't you share your story with our audience?
Sure. So I started out as a firefighter paramedic in Arizona, did a short stint in New Mexico and Oregon. I've been with Oceanside Fire, though, since 2001, so same year as Chief Sadler there. Came in as a firefighter paramedic, worked my way up the ranks to division chief and then eventually to fire chief here, which I've been for the last year and 9 months. I loved working for this department and this city so much that I actually moved here in 2020. So I'm also now a resident of going on 4 years here in Oceanside. And it's an honor and a privilege to both live in this community and to serve this community as the fire chief. It's something special to me.
Great. Well, thank you. And I do, really do. I know how busy you two are, and I appreciate you both being here. And just so you know, we're going to go a little longer in this show. This will be an hour, and we're going to break it kind of up into two segments. We'll have a half-hour part, and then we'll move on. Next month, people will be able to see the second half of our show. But I know a lot of folks don't know a lot about our police department in general. Can you tell us a little bit about your department, Kedrick?
Yeah, so our department right now, we have 219 sworn spots that we have for our department. We are short-staffed right now. We currently have 26 vacancies on the sworn side. Then we're supported by 115 non-sworn members. Those are our professional staff. Our department is broken up into 3 divisions. So we have our patrol division. Those are the officers who respond to calls for service. When the community calls for a police officer, that's who shows up. Then we have our investigations division. They are the ones who do all the follow-up investigations to any crime reports or cases that need to be worked. And then finally, we have our support operations division. That division consists of more community engagement units. So like our homeless outreach team, neighborhood policing team, they are part of that division. Those are the 3 divisions that make up our department.
And I know you talked about everybody thinks like police officers and stuff, but what are some of the other important roles that are within the police department that people may not deal with every day or come in contact with?
Yeah, well, probably the most important part of our department is our community engagement, building relationships with the community that we serve. We understand as a police department that we cannot arrest our way to a safe community, but it's through that community partnership, working with our community is how we create our safe neighborhoods. So one of the things that we focus on is making sure that our officers embrace that they embrace the community partnership piece of it. And if we have to, obviously we can take enforcement action, but that's our main focus right now is community.
Yeah, and then we just kind of came off Telecommunications Week, so I wanted to try to give us a little shout out for our dispatchers. You talk a little bit about police dispatch.
Yeah, absolutely. So police dispatchers, they play a critical role in the success of our police department. So police dispatchers are the ones when you call 911 or you call for police services, they're the ones who answer the phone. They gather the initial information, and then that information is sent out to the officers who are out on the street on patrol. So again, like I said, they play a critical role because without getting that information correctly to the officers, then we wouldn't be able to respond effectively. So they play a big role.
Right, David, I'll give you a chance to talk about our dispatchers too, but why don't you tell us a little bit about the OFD?
Sure. So we have multiple divisions, but I'll start with the deputy chief, who is the second in command. He's in charge of a number of divisions under him specifically. And so under the deputy chief would be operations, which is the essentially the fire stations, fire engines, ladder trucks, and ambulances that are on the roads every day that the public probably sees regularly. You have emergency medical services under the deputy chief, and we have the lifeguards under the deputy chief. So those are all divisions under a deputy chief. Then we have some divisions that are separated out that report directly to me. That would be the administration division, which is also covering support services, logistics, apparatus, things like that, and the budget. And then we also have community risk reduction. The old term for community risk reduction was fire prevention. But in the last decade or so, there's been a transformation into community risk reduction, which basically means we're not just about preventing fires, we're about preventing injuries, accidents, everything that can be a risk to the community that would cause a call for service from the fire department. So it's more of a holistic approach to community health and safety. So those are the primary, sorry, and I'm missing one division. If I didn't mention it, was training, and that's also under the deputy chief.
Right.
Yeah.
And what about our dispatchers? Now, it's a little different than PD, but you want to tell our folks listeners what?
Yeah, it's an interesting story because historically, a number, I'd say 15 or 17 years ago, our dispatch center was combined with the police department. The police dispatched both police and fire. The fire agencies in North San Diego County wanted to combine and have a standalone fire-centric and fire-specific dispatch system. Despite the many similarities we have in public safety, there is quite a difference in dispatching between police and fire. The activities, without getting into the details, are quite different. So we are part of the North County Joint Powers Authority for Dispatch, and they dispatch for 13 agencies in North San Diego County, of which we are the largest dispatch agency that they dispatch for. And they provide excellent service. We are part of the board of chiefs that help make decisions for them. And with Appreciation Week this last week, we made sure to take good care of our dispatchers because if I think of them kind of like a spinal cord is my analogy. The flow of information goes up and down that flow to people and then to the incident commanders and back to the ground forces, and the dispatch center helps keep control and organized and all of that information. So they're a critical component of what we do, and we appreciate and love them very much.
And I think just stay with our dispatchers for a second. I think that's kind of similar to PD. Just they are also on the call with the officers. A lot of times when they're responding, they're giving information related to suspects or something. Isn't that correct?
Yeah. So when we have officers out in the field who are responding to calls for service, especially emergency calls, the dispatchers are like our partners. They're getting that information that they're relaying to the officers. The officers are requesting for resources and additional officers, so they're sending information back to the dispatchers. So, like you said, they're just like having one of the officers out in the field with us, and they're our lifeline because when we find ourselves in a harrowing situation, that's who we're able to contact immediately through our radio is our dispatchers.
Right. And since we're just talking about departments, one of the areas I'm going to kind of stick with a little bit is you mentioned, Chief, being short-staffed and stuff. What are the opportunities in law enforcement right now in the city of Oceanside?
So we, for our department, we actually have a lot of different positions that are available right now. So police officer, we right now currently have 26 vacancies. So we're hiring entry-level police officers as well as lateral. So if we have somebody who's an experienced officer, they can also come over. We're hiring for dispatchers right now. We have vacancies there, records technicians, community service officers, but those are the main positions that we're hiring for right now.
And we'll get into some of those maybe requirements a little bit. But Dave, what kind of opportunities, if people wanted to work for the fire department, what's available?
Yeah, so if in terms of immediately available, we have what would be more of like our apprenticeship programs. So you have the EMTs on an ambulance. You do have to have the EMT class or certification to do that, but that's a fairly simple thing to achieve, I believe. We have part-time fire inspectors as well. We have, on occasion, administrative and support staff openings. But to be a firefighter, we have openings, or we hire for openings once a year for an academy, and that starts in approximately February of each year is the pattern we're on right now. And there are some high-level requirements that you have to get to that point. But our apprenticeship program, starting with the EMT ambulances, has a really nice path laid out for people to get there. And there's a little bit of time and effort to put in, but you may agree with me that to get it to a fulfilling career, and it's worth the effort.
Yeah, I do agree with you. And I didn't want to forget something because you talked about the lifeguard division being under you, and I just want to remind everybody that I believe it was our session 5 of our O'side Demystified. We had our lifeguard captain, Bill Curtis, in here, and he came and talked about our lifeguard division and all the things that they do. So anybody interested in lifeguarding or that, they can go check out that episode. Kind of a general question, but why should anybody be interested in working here in Oceanside for the police department?
I think, first of all, it starts off with the community of Oceanside. Just a great place to work, live, and play. It's a very diverse community. It's a community that really supports and backs its police department, which is critical to our success. But then within the organization, it's a family-like environment, and that's what we pride ourselves on. In the Oceanside Police Department is that we want our employees to come to a place where they enjoy coming to and they feel like they're at home with family. So those are things that we embrace. And then we also have our government officials and electeds who support us as well. So very close-knit community who, like I said, supports the police department.
Yeah, thanks, Dave. Anything you want to add? I think probably similar.
I could just say ditto, honestly, and that speaks to actually our community. What Chief Sadler just said is very applicable to the fire department. We have a strong sense of family and togetherness, that esprit de corps, where we know that if we take care of each other, if I take care of the staff that's doing the hard work, they're going to take really good care of the community. And so, yeah, I think what sets us apart is that sense of family, that sense of community. Again, it's why I particularly made the decision to move here is I really love living and working here. And I think that's unique. It sets us apart in terms of fulfillment, job satisfaction, and I think in a nice way, professionalism is that we're not so big that we're out of touch, but we're big enough to where I think there's opportunities in our particular disciplines to have things, challenges that you might not get in a smaller organization. So big enough, but not too big.
So a lot of times people think there's competition between police and fire. What do you think about that?
Well, and I hope I'm only laughing in fun because I've worked in a lot of agencies before I got to the City of Oceanside, and this is not. I'm not just saying this. Our relationship between the police and fire department in the City of Oceanside is very unique and special in a good way. We have a good partnership. We have good communication. We're always working together on initiatives and finding ways to leverage each other's strengths. And I can say that isn't always the case. There are some organizations that are completely disconnected when it comes to their public safety, and that's fine for them. But for us, our success is built by leveraging each other's positive attributes. And I can't thank Chief Sadler and his leadership team enough because they're great partners.
Yeah. You want to just take that and run, or you want to add?
Yeah, I couldn't agree with them more. I just think we have a good cooperative working relationship. We put the City of Oceanside's safety at the forefront of everything that we do. And we respond to a lot of calls together because it's something that requires a police presence as well as fire. But we've been working together so long and doing it so well together that when we get on scene, we know what our roles are. And the police, we do what we need to do to support them. And if it's a fire call, we're going to do whatever they need, and then vice versa. If it's something that's law enforcement related, they're going to come in and they're going to support our efforts. So it's just been great.
I'm going to stick with you, Chief, because there was something I read the other day, and it was some article, and I wish I could remember the journal that I saw it in. But it said it was the 10 safest cities to live in San Diego County. And I opened it up to read it, and I looked and I went, Oceanside's not on it. So I just want to address, I think sometimes there's a lot of confusion about how safe our city is. Can you just talk to our viewers and listeners a little bit about the crime issues? I don't even want to say problems, but what are the crime issues? What are overall safety from a law enforcement perspective? Yeah,
safety is, I think Oceanside is a very safe city. Currently right now, we're year to date, we're 8.5% decrease in crime overall, which has been incredible. Our biggest issues here are more quality of life related issues that we've been dealing with the homeless issues, but that's not something unique to Oceanside. All cities are dealing with that. But as it relates to violent crime, we've seen a trend where it's been going down considerably over the last few years. So overall, Oceanside is a very safe place to live. I visit here with my family and hang out here, and I would encourage others to do that as well. Come here to vacation, come here to live, or come here just to play for the weekend.
I agree. And you stole my tagline, by the way. Dave, regarding safety with fire, and where are we in far? How would you discuss the issue of safety related to fire and EMS?
Yeah, we've seen similar trends as to what Chief Sadler stated there. The trends for fire safety in general are positive, meaning fewer overall, save some of those that are related to, let's say, homelessness and things like that. But our call volume has gone up consistently over the last, going into actually the near past 5-10 years. Some of that's related to the post-pandemic world we live in. Some of that's related to stresses on the healthcare system and people choosing to call 911 and because they weren't able to see their doctor. So factors a little outside of our control. But for example, the City of Oceanside was assigned 24,000 calls last year, and that was a new record for us. And we've been setting a record every year. 86% of those are EMS related, and that is our core business is taking care of people's health when there's an emergency in that respect. But all of those other factors that make up our call volume are going down in general. It's just the actual volume itself is going up. So,
and when we talk about call, I think it might be important for people to know when they call 911 and they ask for help from the fire department, what kind of calls do you guys respond to? What do our folks respond to?
Sure. Well, I'm going to kind of give a little bit of inside baseball here because when people call 911, the dispatch center they're going to get is OPD dispatch. That's the dispatch center that by law receives the 911 calls. And then depending on the nature of the call, the OPD dispatcher then will ship it to the fire dispatch to dispatch the type of the right resource for the right problem at that time. So again,
often you have police officers going ahead of you to identify where the fire hydrants are and things like that.
Exactly. Potentially. If
I had to get it in, Chief. Sorry.
That's a reference to them maybe parking in front of a hydrant once in a while, but that we won't go there. No, we say that in jest. We love our partners. No, so like I said, 86% are emergency medical calls, and that's I think most people probably have a handle on that. Might be a chest pain, a stroke, or anything you can imagine that someone feels is an emergent in nature. They can't wait for a doctor. The other types of calls we respond to are going to be fires of all types, structure fires, rubbish fires, of course, vegetation fires, which we're well aware of here in California. We respond to rescues, which can be traffic collisions, water rescues, ocean rescues, working with our lifeguards who are part of the fire department. Could be really any nature that people find they need assistance from a government agency, and maybe it's not appropriate for police. We kind of style ourselves as the all-hazard, all-risk response agency, and we take care of any problem that people ask us to assist them with.
And you talked about lifeguards in the harbor, and this is a toss-up question, so either one of you can jump on it, but we recently had a change in our harbor response and coverage. Chief, I don't know if you want to touch on that a little bit, that was meant for your department, and then Dave, maybe how we're working in the harbor.
Sure.
Yeah, so a lot of as it relates to boat rescues or boat tows, a lot of the water-related stuff, we have shifted that responsibility over to the fire department. We still have a police presence there, but our police presence is more on land versus being on water, how we did it previously. So right now we're working in partnership with the Oceanside Fire Department lifeguards and our police officers to provide a safe environment down in the harbor. But we're sharing the load, whereas before we were dealing with everything. We were handling all the water-related issues that were coming up as well as land. But I think it's been working out well.
Okay. Dave, you want to add?
Yeah. What I'll add is that the harbor and that area in general, there's a lot of mixed use needs, right? There's law needs, there's lifeguard needs, there's rescue needs, there's fire needs. So kind of finding the right mix and how to address those has been something that we've been in an evolution of. And so I think we're in a good spot. I think there are ways that we can go to learn from each other and work with the Harbor District to improve services or work on right-sizing the services. But where we are now is a lifeguard sergeant, a senior beach lifeguard, and a firefighter paramedic are in a combined team, and it's actually a fairly unique model. Those three personnel are either working on a paramedic rescue squad, a vehicle, or if it's a water-related emergency, they'll move over onto a boat, and that could be a fire boat or a rescue boat, depending on what the problem is. So we're trying to leverage the positive skill set of the different disciplines, and so that we can really more appropriately address the problems. Because the problems that are related to water and boating and safety issues and law issues, it touches everything that we all do. And so this new model, in my view, it's worked out very well. I think the training and the service that we're able to provide is good from the aspects we're approaching it. But I tell you, we can't do it without the support of our OPD partners, because there are law issues that are really not our wheelhouse, that is their wheelhouse. And so we're still evolving in a really good way, but I think the current iteration is probably the best we've ever had.
Good to hear. And I know we're going to be coming up on the end of our first half hour. It goes pretty fast. So, and our next half hour, when we get into that, we'll talk about some specific issues. You kind of mentioned homelessness, and I really want to dig deep on that and some other things. But what are the challenges that you both see? And maybe they're unique to your individual departments, but what are the challenges that affect the police department or affect the fire department? Chief, I'll let you.
Well, our number one issue right now that we're dealing with is staffing. That's a huge issue for us because for many reasons, we're just not getting as many candidates coming through the door wanting to be police officers like when I first started. When I first became a police officer, the police department was actually on a hiring freeze because we didn't have any vacancies. But it's not something that's unique to Oceanside. All law enforcement agencies are dealing with staffing issues. So that's one big challenge. I'd say another challenge that we're having is with community, making sure that we gain that trust and we keep it. There's a lot of more community oversight and community involvement that wasn't there when I first started back in 2001. But the community wants to be more involved in what their police department is doing. So that is something that's adjusting to that. And then I would probably say lastly is just staying ahead of the criminal element out there, especially when it relates to technology and all the sophistication of our criminals now. We have to stay one step ahead of them. That's been huge. And then one additional thing I would say with all the new legislative changes, there's a lot of new laws that are coming out from Sacramento, and they're coming in an avalanche. It's like we figure out one thing, and then here comes another law. So just making sure that our folks are educated on the new laws and how to apply them appropriately, and just staying on top of that, the training mandates.
Yeah, we'll talk about that a little bit later. But earlier this week, I was at a event where the county sheriff, was giving an update on our jail situation and stuff. And what I didn't realize was that she talked about all the laws that impacted our prison overcrowding situation and the domino effect that had on our jails, and why now it's so difficult. And we can talk more about it in the next episode about our jails and why it's so difficult to get people booked into jail. Dave, how about you? What challenges are in growth or whatever you want to talk about?
Sure. So
in 2 minutes.
So we, as quick as I can. In terms of, so we have the same challenges in terms of having enough people coming in the door. When I tested, it was against thousands of people for 30 jobs, 40 jobs. Extremely competitive. We have actually we're ahead of the game in terms of what we're doing and compared to other fire departments in terms of the EMT program, which is a lot like an apprenticeship program. And through the work of yourself and your former role and the city council and Measure X enabling this program to exist, we may not get the numbers we used to get, but the numbers we get are very high quality numbers because we've helped through the apprenticeship create really good candidates. And we're able to focus on local individuals, local youth. And so that's been very powerful. So outside of that challenge, which I think we're addressing pretty well, call volume is really hitting us hard. I had mentioned that we break a record every year, but we're not, due to the available funding that's just out there in the way we're designed, we're not able to constantly add people to address the call volume in a consistent manner. It's just gone up so quickly. It's outstripping our ability. We are playing catch up on getting units out there. Where that really affects us is response times. So response times are probably lower in some areas than we want them to be, and that's a reflection of having probably not quite enough units rolling on the road to be able to respond to calls. So as those creep up, we get more concerned about getting another unit on the road to address that, or reducing calls for service, and that's a different subject that we can discuss.
Great, thanks. Well, believe it or not, gentlemen, we've hit that first half hour. And I'm going to take a break here. And so, folks, we'll be back shortly.
The Oceanside Fire Department is the second busiest department in San Diego County, running approximately 24,000 calls a year. About 17,000 of those are related to rescue or EMS. So if you're looking for experience as an EMT, come look at the Oceanside Fire Department.
My name is Kevin Rankin. I'm a probationary firefighter paramedic with the City of Oceanside.
And my name is Daniel Garcia. I'm a probationary firefighter paramedic.
As an Oceanside EMT, you get to do radio reports, get hands-on experience, and driving as well.
Whether it's a fire, a water rescue, or any medical aid, they make you feel like you're a part of the crew and you're a part of that team.
Thanks to the citizens of Oceanside voting in Measure X in 2019, we have had approximately 40 of our EMTs move on to become full-time firefighter paramedics.
There's no other department like this at all. I couldn't have it any other way.
On May 1st, we're opening up applications for EMT.
Come to Oceanside Fire Department, where you'll get
real experience that matters.
That takes us through the first half of our interview with Chief Sadler and Parsons. They will be back with us next month to wrap it all up. Please watch, and as always, Oceanside is a great place to live, work, and play. Don't let it be a mystery. I'm your host, Rick Robinson, and I'll see you next time.
Go to KOCT.org and check out our programming schedule.